Welcome to this new Addon Spotlight. In this Addon Spotlight, we're going to look at the latest version of the Boeing 737 of PMDG. Right, it's the 700 model because the 600 we're still waiting for it. In this version, they added a lot of things, or they fixed a lot of things, mainly in the virtual cockpit, because if you would scroll to this list, you would see tons of things which are shown here, right? So they made adjustments based on reports of users that would say the cockpit functionality was either not correct, or some things where the, I would say, option was not shown correctly. Those are the main things which they fix in a virtual cockpit. If we, let's say, look into detail in some other things, they fixed an issue with the fire protection where it, would say, took long to discharge the fire protection. And they also fixed freezes in all types, right? So the RTA waypoint sequencing or deletion provisions, that's now being fixed. So you should see less freezes. If we look at the other sections where there were updates, we can see freezes have been, that's the one we just discussed. General documentation updates, but also system flight controls, the LE flaps and slats retract with B system off after alternate flap extension. Going down the list, there were some sound issues with the trim sounds which were not working. That's being fixed. And you can see that there's a commonality of users reporting these issues, including the owner of PMDG, right? It's Mr. Randazzo. You can see his name here, and there's also Mr. von Rensburg, which is reporting, I would say, a lot of the issues which are being fixed. So cool to see that all these things are now being fixed. In addition to that, they made an update. So to the what was it? The licensing, where you where some people were asked to remove their, let's say, community add-ons. There's now a specific add-on. So if you're developing content for this aircraft or developing customizations for this aircraft, then read through the licensing documentation again. Then how to get it? Well, that's really easy. You simply go to the PMDG Operations Center. That will say, hey, you need to update, right? So you can go to the updates, and then we'll say, okay, hey, you need to install the update. In this case, it will bring the version from the PMDG 700 from 320 to 3024. So we're gonna install it. That will ask you to relaunch the PMDG Operation Center if you didn't install it or open it under the administration privileges. So that's what I've done now, right? So then simply click install files, and then it will download all the stuff and will make sure that you're using the latest version of the aircraft. There are no livery updates. There were a few, I think this week or the week before, mainly to the Southwest Airlines liveries, but other liveries were not updated. We can double check it when this one has been installed. So it's copying, and then it's just a matter of, let's say, starting Flight Simulator, and then you can enjoy the latest additions, right? Because if I look here, there are no updates here for this type, also not for this type, and also not for the latest type. So there are some things which I probably didn't install because I think the Flying Tigers were already there. So I'm going to install them. So always make sure that you go to the livery section and that you've got all the liveries which you want to have are installed. If you're having, let's say, not enough disk space, then you can always remove them if you want. So enough discussed. So let's start Flight Simulator and let's see how it looks like and if we can spot the differences. So we're in the aircraft, so let's have a look at what has changed. Well, the first thing which I observed when starting it was that the speed over here is shown as 45 while the ground speed is 0. So I assume that that's a new bug because I didn't saw it earlier. Other than that, they optimized the panel. There were some things with screws which were not correctly, I would say, shown on the displays, and they've now, I would say, optimized that. So that's good to see. The other thing which they did is they optimized the texture for the emergency escape rope, not for the co-pilot, but for the pilot itself. And for the pilot itself, we need to turn over here, right? That's over here where they changed that piece. There were some texture issues with that system. If we go to the top of the aircraft, they also made changes there because there were some issues with the texture, mainly with the text and the and spaces in between. That's now being fixed, so that's cool. So that's, I would say, yeah, nice that they pay attention to this. The main panel indicator housing needs more detail, right? That's the main panel. I assume that they're referring to this one. Let me go to that. And you can see that this one really got more detail, right? So they've added some more screws and some more detail here. So this looks, I would say, pretty cool. And there are some items here. I'm not sure if they changed the level of detail also on the text or on the items being displayed here. That could be, but that's a little bit vague based on the release notes. Then there was another other thing which I can't reproduce now, is the wet touch point water spray from the main wheels is reversed, so from left to the right. That's being fixed. And the other thing is that the throttle screw texture alignment was off, right? So here's the throttle, and you can see that they paid some attention to that and optimized it, and I would say I'm really impressed. It looks like that they handled it completely, and they put some nice, I would say, additions to it, as well as for the step trim switch texture that also received an update. Going to the other things like the switches and knobs animated instantly and should not be slowed down. Well, it looks like that has been fixed, right? You can now simply, let's say, turn the knob without any delay, and in the past there was some delay observed, although it was sometimes hard to see. Test switch and the fault in-op and overheat fires test switch should be spring-loaded to center. That's the fire test, right? This is the, I would say, fire warning, but there is also fire test option in the aircraft. I think it's somewhere on the roof, but to be honest, I couldn't find it. But that has been fixed now, so that's cool. And overall, I would say, roof of the aircraft got some attention, right? It looks like that they, I would say, spend some time on really seriously updating this content. So that's cool to see. So a lot of updates with our aircraft, mainly for the virtual cockpit, but also for several systems inside the aircraft. So that's cool. Here ends this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you got questions or comments, then feel free to post them in the comment box below. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then make sure that you're subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.